Autofocus works smoothly. It's not the fastest out there. Do you see how they changed the design of the switch? Hey guys! 7Artisans has done it again. This is their second autofocus prime lens for Sony E-mount. It's the 85mm f1.8. My name is Thomas and I'm really eager to find out how good this thing is. So let's have a go now. Wait, no! Oh no, I missed it. I want Cologne on it. Disclaimer, 7Artisans sent me this lens so I can produce this review. It arrived a couple of days before it was officially announced. This is a brand new release of 2024 and again it's their second autofocus lens. It's got internal focusing, sort of linear autofocus motors, I suppose. Pretty complex optical construction. It's an 85 f1.8 and it retails for $299 or a little bit above 300 euros here in Europe. In your hand, this lens is very, very similar to the 7Artisans 50mm f1.8, and that goes both for the good points, but also for some, weaknesses. If you remember my old video about the 51.8, two things I didn't like was, you've got this nice, smooth aperture ring. That's nice. It's stepless, okay, but it has this A setting, and there's supposed to be an indent, but you don't feel it. It's barely there. It should be much more pronounced. There's nothing that's, accidentally keeps you from hitting A or not. And the second thing is this switch actually feels much better in this lens than on my sample of the 51.8. Two small interesting details. So this part here of the outer barrel, I think this is made from plastic. On the 85, it's made from metal on the 50. It doesn't matter. Many other lenses, even more expensive ones, have these pieces made from plastic. That doesn't matter at all. It's not really a quality issue. And the second thing, do you see how they changed the design of the switch? Here it goes in this direction, and here they turned it around. And that's very good because I was always accidentally moving the switch when handling the lens or the aperture ring, and it doesn't happen with that design. So that's an improvement on the 85mm lens. And this is new. The 50 didn't have it. It's like an AF lock button. That's kind of cool, and it also feels nice. It's a cheap lens, as I said before, but sadly that means it's also not weather sealed. Keep that in mind, but in normal use I don't expect any problems. There is a plastic lens hood, bayonet style. Not sure if this is really made for 85 lenses. Normally they are longer for 85, but I suppose you can use this also for a 50 or even a 35mm lens. Anyhow, I didn't have any issues with stray light performance, so this hood is okay. Gets the job done. The focusing ring has a nice feel to it, not too light, and again it's also kind of a linear feel, so you can really use that well for manual focusing. That's good. So that's it. Overall, it's a very, very well-made lens. Okay, one very small minor complaint, but if you look closely to the markings on the aperture ring, it doesn't line up perfectly at f1.8. I think it lines up well at the other side of the end. It doesn't matter, but yeah, it would be even nicer if this would line up perfectly. At f1.8 and 85mm, you really have to decide which of these flowers you want to have in focus: shallow, depth of field. Sometimes I hate autofocus because it will focus on the dirty mirror surface, window surface. A manual focus, it's really smooth, and of course when you touch the focus ring, it will automatically zoom in, and also there is IBIS in this camera, so the manual focus experience is very good. And also this ring moves very sort of linear, even though it's focused by wire. But note that this lens has a lot of focus breathing, so maybe if you're a video guy, you won't like that so much. Of course, there is a knob to go from autofocus to manual focus. You don't have to do that in a menu as I'm doing. So you see now I'm in continuous autofocus and I'm locked to a certain part in the picture. And when I press the button, it locks focus and it won't follow anymore. So once you achieve perfect focus, you could use this button to just lock it there and then shoot away. And when you release it, it will start following again. So that's the use case for this button. One of the main reasons to get an 85 prime lens is portraits and bokeh, and in this regard this lens is really good. The bokeh is very smooth at almost any distance that you're likely to take a portrait. I'm going to show you some sample shots. There is a little bit of a cat's eye effect due to geometric vignetting at the very open apertures. There is in general not a huge difference between 1.8 and 2.8 other than the shutter speed, so it's really fast at f1.8, but the bokeh looks kind of similar to 2.8 in many situations. But anyhow, smooth and very nice. About sharpness, as you see, this lens is very sharp. I would say around f4 you already get super crisp sharpness to all the 4 extreme corners of your image, but even at f1.8 the brick wall test looks pretty good to my eyes. It's not as super ultimately sharp as the 50 of 1.8, but it's almost right up there. So that's a very good performance. And vignetting, again, you can see that at f1.8 it is visible, at 2.8 it's much less, and at f4 it's basically gone. But keep in mind that vignetting and also distortion is maybe controlled digitally because this is an autofocus lens with electronic contacts. Anyhow, very good performance altogether. Let's check for chromatic aberrations. As you see, it's overall pretty well controlled, not perfect, but on the other hand you can correct it yourself anyway in post-production, and I've seen much worse lenses than this. How far is that? Let's try the close focus distance, and I'm focusing on this thing. I can go up to here. 70 centimeters? I put the real number in the video. This lens has got an 11 bladed aperture that makes for 22 pointed sun stars. They are not super strong sun stars in your night shots. I will show you some samples. For night shots I'm always a fan of 10 bladed apertures, which make 10 pointed sun stars that have stronger spikes. But yeah, have a look for yourself, maybe you'll like it. Apart from that, the aperture looks pretty rounded at the more open apertures, so that the background blur is always kind of smooth. Time for the verdict already. Yeah, what do I think of this lens? The difference between the 50 and the 85 is, in terms of low budget, really high quality 50mm lenses, there are not so many other offerings out there. In terms of 85, you've got, of course, the very good Sony 85 f1.8. It has been on the market for some years, but yeah, it's a very solid option. This lens retails for less, and it's more modern in terms of optical design, I reckon. Autofocus works smoothly. It's not the fastest out there. Apart from that, the optical performance on this sample is really good. Super sharp, crispy, nice bokeh, a lot to like about. But keep in mind, it's a third-party lens offering, and it's about $300 or euros, so it's not like you get that for nothing. So I give you one example. So this one's got this USB port here, which is good for future firmware updates. But 7Artisans, they make autofocus lenses since maybe a year or so. So far there has not been any need for firmware updates, so we don't know how they will handle it once it happens. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying anything against 7Artisans, but they're a little bit unproven yet. If things like that matter to you, then get a Sony lens. Very simple, or at least a Sigma or Tamron, a proven long-term contributor to the market. But I do really welcome these new lenses because they push the envelope, they make it more affordable, and again, performance very well. That's it for today. I hope you found this episode interesting, maybe even useful. If you did so, then please leave a like and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And many thanks for your support, by the way. Also write something in the comment section below. I love to read all your comments and I will happily answer every single one of them. So have a great time, live long and prosper, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.